Hello everyone, welcome to EveKit. This is a short video just to show you how to get started with the site and demo some of the more interesting features. The goal of EveKit is to provide a way to automatically download your Eve API data as well as history on the cloud, and then provide various APIs for you to retrieve the data. Currently we provide access via a straight web service API as well as a JavaScript client and a Java client. So to get started, the first thing you need to do is log into the site. We currently support logging in with Twitter or Google, and we're working on adding support for using the new Eve single sign-on offering, which was just announced. So once you've logged in, the first thing you need to do is create a synchronized account. A synchronized account is the way that you specify the Eve API key and vcode that you want to use to download data. To create an account, you go to the account list under the Sync Accounts menu. And you'll notice I already have an account created here. I'll tell you why I did that in just a moment. But for now, let's add a new account. So the first thing you need to do is give your account a name. You need to decide whether this will be a character or corporation account. So for this demo, I'll do a character account. Then you need to decide whether you want to auto-synchronize the account. Auto-synchronize means that EveKit will try to download the latest Eve API data when the cache timers allow it. If you don't select auto-sync, you'll have to manually synchronize your data anytime you want to do a download. So for this demo, let's make this an auto-sync account. And then you need to enter in your Eve API credentials. So once you've done that, you refresh the character list, and then choose which character you want to sync, and save your changes. Okay, so the new account down here has never been synchronized. That's what this value over here means. It will synchronize in a few minutes, but for the sake of the demo, I'll go ahead and force the synchronization now. You can do that at any time by clicking the Sync Now button. And while we're waiting for that to sync, let's go ahead and create an access key, which you can get to by pressing the Access Keys button here. So EveKit works very similar to how the Eve API servers work. In order to get access to your data, you need to create an access key. An access key is control which data is accessible, when they expire, and so on. So let's go ahead and create an access key for our new account. You need to give it a name, so let's call this one all. If you'd like, you can give an expiry for the key, so after this date the key will no longer work for retrieving any data. You can also apply a limit to the key. What this is a date in the past beyond which data won't be accessible with this key. So for example, if you want to give this key out but you don't want somebody to be able to look at your wallet journal entries sometime in the past, you can add a limit time, and any entries before that limit date will not be accessible with this key. Once you've named the key and set any limits here, you need to select which options you want to allow with this key. So you can either do them one at a time, or there's the convenient buttons here to move everything over. So for this demo, we're going to open up access to everything, and then finally save your changes. So let's go back now and look at our account list and see if we've managed to synchronize yet. And it looks like we've just completed a sync here. So the next thing we might want to do is take a look at the data we've just synchronized. To do that, you can go to the Remote API menu and select Remote API Info. And on the left side here, it shows the Remote API available for different types of access. So EveKit does provide access to the Eve static database, the static export. The documentation isn't complete, so it's only showing one of the agent entries right now. But actually, all of the access is already there, and that'll be the subject of a different video. You can also access Capsuleer data, like the account we just created, as well as corporation data. So for this demo, let's access the Capsuleer data for the account that we just created. So the first thing you need to do is pick which access key you're going to use. So we'll use the one for the account we just created, the demo account. And then we'll choose what section we want to look at. So let's look at the account balance for this account. And when you select the entry over in the Remote API, it will pull up documentation about this particular call. So it'll include the path if you want to make a direct web call. It will also include what the required access is for this call. So this was one of the options you could have selected with the access key, but in our case we allowed access to all of the API calls. There's a short description of the call. There is the names of the methods in each of the other two APIs that we support that you can use to make the same call. And finally, there's a sample call with some sample information down here, as well as arguments. Every call in the remote API will take the access key and access hash. These are just the values that are populated up here, or you can go back to the access key page and look them up as well. So to make the call, all you do in this case is just hit submit, because this call doesn't require any further arguments, and you'll see the result here for this character. Okay, so that was an example of using the account balance call. Many of the other calls will return large quantities of data, and so EveKit implements a paging API using something called a continuation ID. So a good example of a call which needs to use this ID is the wallet. So let's go ahead and take a look at transactions. So when you select transaction list, you'll see the usual documentation, and in the form area for trying out the API, you'll see two new fields, continuation and max result. These fields are described in the documentation down here. So essentially, the max result is the maximum number of results that will return from a call. Currently, this is capped at 1,000 if you want to retrieve many entries at a time. And continuation is just the value that is used to determine where to start retrieving from. So in the case of transaction list, it happens to be the transaction date. And if you don't put anything in here, it defaults to -1. So for this case, for this demo, let's just retrieve the first two results. So you click submit, and you'll see the first two results here. And then if there are more results, there will be a continuation ID, which, as the documentation said for this particular call, happens to be the transaction date. So in this case, this value here is the value we would pass to get the next set of transactions in the list. So let's go ahead and copy that over. And if you do that and hit submit again, you'll see the next two transactions after this particular entry here. And you'll get a new continuation date. And you can continue doing this on and on until you exhaust all of the available entries. Okay, so that's a demo of using the remote API directly through the website. Of course, most people will want to call the API from their own websites or Google Docs or wherever else. There's documentation over on the left here that describes an overview of the API, as well as various ways to make calls and how to handle the responses. So if we just go back to the list here for a second so that you can see the documentation. If you select the overview, you'll get a description of how the API works, as well as what responses tend to look like, and what errors will look like if they're ever returned. And then finally, the last two sections describe the other two APIs besides the web service API. What's interesting to note here is that on these sections, we provide links to actually downloading the code. So, for example, this is the link for the EveKit JavaScript API, and there's documentation as well. And also, there's a link for the Java API. Okay, so let's go back and look at one last feature here on the account list. So I mentioned earlier that I already had an account created here. The reason I did that is so that I could show a demo of the snapshot feature. So every day currently at 4 a.m. Eve time, EveKit generates a snapshot of all of the data for an account and stores it as a collection of CSV comma-separated value files, which you can import into Excel and so on. So when a snapshot is available, if you click on the button here, it will create a download, and if you open this up, you'll see a series of CSV files. So for example, if we go to the character sheet and open that up, and fix the formatting, you'll see all kinds of details about your particular data that you downloaded. And then one last feature here, just to describe the other buttons. Sync history will show you the history of synchronization for your particular account. So there'll be one history entry for every synchronization attempt. Then there will be a series of green, yellow, or red boxes for each of the sections that were downloaded showing the status. Green means that everything downloaded just fine. Yellow means there was a warning during the download, and red means the download outright failed for that particular section. And then you can scroll over these to get more detail on some of these. So in this case, the reason the faction war failed was because this character isn't enlisted in factional warfare. Sync now we demonstrated earlier in the demo to get things going, and we just showed you download latest snapshot. Access keys get you to the access keys for this account. Modify, if you don't like the name of the account or something like that, you can click this button here and change any of the fields that you like. And finally, you can delete the account. You'll have to confirm that you want to delete it, and moreover, there's a safety feature built in, so when you click delete, the account will be marked for delete, but it won't actually be deleted for another 24 hours. In that time, when it's marked for delete, it will stop synchronizing, so you won't get any more synchronization, but you can still download the latest snapshot. And if you make a mistake and you catch it within 24 hours, you can just restore the account, and it's back as before. Okay, that concludes the demo for EveKit. We'll be publishing other videos about certain other features in the future. Thanks a lot.